Good evening and welcome to the 588th episode of Travelers Radio. I'm Dan Schlossberg. Roger Noriega is enjoying baseball opening day. We're in the 14th season of Travelers Radio, the show that lets you enjoy the pleasures of travel from the comfort of your armchair. Every week at this time, we talk to people representing destinations, hotels, airlines, railroads, car rental companies, and others in the world of travel and hospitalities, from authors and bloggers to broadcasters and publicists. If it's got anything to do with travel, it's got everything to do with Travelers Radio. And our guest today is Miriam Dodson of Fort Myers Islands, Beaches, and Neighborhoods. Welcome, Miriam, to Travelers Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Well, thank you for filling in for Jackie Parker. We'll have to have her back another time. But Miriam, first of all, I'm just back from Fort Myers myself. I loved it there. I spent the first week of March there, hated to leave. But before we get into the Edison Ford Museum and all the other attractions in your area, what exactly is a Shellcast host? I know that's part of Jackie's title.
Yeah. And Jackie is a host of podcast. It's called Shellcast, and she is the mastermind behind all of it. So big kudos and shout out to her. And the big part about it being called Shellcast is because or Sanibel Island, I should say, is included in our area here, is known as the seashell capital of the world. So we're very proud of that. And we love to go hunt for shells and be able to get people to kind of have a beach break for their ears and spend some time on the beach. But for many of you who can't join in person, when you really want to, maybe in the dead of winter, you are welcome to listen to the podcast where she goes around to all different places, Dog Beach, even spring training, and talk to folks, officials, visitors, residents, the playmakers behind the scenes to make all of our events happen, to give you the experience maybe while you're driving into work and get a chance to kind of experience being here with us, but just through the podcast. So it's a lot of fun. I encourage everybody to listen to it.
So she sells seashells on the seashore.
Yeah, pretty much. And she loves it. And she does a great job at it. And it's really endless content because we do have a lot going on here. But at the same time, we like people to feel relaxed, and we think the podcast does that and kind of gets you in the mood or gets yourself prepared to be able to come to our area, which we're kind of known for this laid back, relaxed vibe, but yet a lot of hidden gems.
Tell our viewers where Fort Myers is and a little about its islands, beaches, and neighborhoods.
Yeah, a lot of people may have heard of Miami, Tampa, or the bigger cities, but we are on the Gulf Coast, so the west side. We're about 2.5 hours, west of Miami, if you were to hit Alligator Alley or 41 or Tamiami Trail. And we're about 2 hours south of Tampa, just to give you an idea. We do have our amazing airport, RSW, where you can get many direct flights, especially seasonally, which we're in our great season right now, where it's nice and the weather is just gorgeous. So we know people want to be here. We want to get you here. And we have more than 100 different islands in the area. So a lot of people don't realize that and all that we offer, more than 50 miles of beach and shoreline. So that means plenty of beach options. And what's great is that they have all different kinds of personalities, in the parks and the preserves. We really pride ourselves on nature. And like I said, being the seashell capital of the world. So there's plenty of opportunity to do that kind of stuff and getting out and about and just, shoulder drop feeling and relax and just being able to reconnect with nature or your family. Maybe it's a guy's trip, a girl's trip, you name it. There's just something for everybody.
And baseball spring training, which just finished a couple of days ago, came to Fort Myers in 1925, exactly 100 years ago. And the Edison Ford Museum is celebrated with a lavish display of photographs and artifacts from the 5 teams that have held spring training at Fort Myers. What will visitors find there, and how long will that display last?
Yes, we're excited about that too. 100 years of spring training. And I know you love your baseball, so you've got a bunch of different things that you can relate to here. Spring training was amazing. These are some pictures here of the artifacts in the museum that they have there in the Edison and Ford estates. It really was created in partnership with Connie Mack and the family there, where they feature a lot of different as you can see, photos and dating back into all of the history of how it came to Terry Park specifically, which is in Fort Myers. And that's really kind of what got a lot of national attention. The Kansas City Royals have trained here. The A's have been here. And actually happy to say that they've all won some kind of a major title if they have trained here for more than 2 years. So I say that's good luck. So the exhibit is going to be on display, even though this is our 100th year. It's going to be on display all the way through spring of 2028. So if you couldn't come down this year for our big, exciting 100-year celebration, you definitely have plenty of time to be able to check it out there at the Edison and Ford Estates, and lots of history that is very deeply rooted and rich. And Edison himself liked to get out there and play some baseball. And even now, they'll do something called a vintage game that the Edison and Ford Estate staff puts on, where some, I don't want to say old timers, but let's say lifelong baseball fans get a chance to play baseball just like they did back in the olden days with old uniforms. And it's for the public, and it's a great event for people to come watch, and only a couple bucks. So that's the other thing we're really excited about, is that, everything is pretty affordable here. We like to make sure that people have opportunities to experience all of it and its history.
Well, inventors Thomas Edison and Henry Ford were friends who wintered in Fort Myers. They left quite a legacy, including their estates, labs, and gardens, plus Ford's cars and Edison's phonographs. I loved going through that museum. It bowled me over. It really did.
Mm-hmm. That museum is awesome. I do want to say to anybody going to the Edison and Ford Estates, you're going to have a great tour outdoors. There's a garden there. Do not underestimate this museum. I mean, it is an awesome spot to learn about everything that Thomas Edison was involved in, along with Henry Ford. You get to see the phonograph, some of his very early inventions. We associate him with light, but there was hundreds of patents that he was involved in. And you get to see exactly here on the grounds of how he found things and invented things. And that's what makes this area of Fort Myers so special, because the climate was just right to do these experiments. And his lab is left exactly how he left it. And it's like you're walking into history. I mean, there's even like, you could almost see exactly where he was sitting and tinkering. And it's amazing. And if you're a history buff, it's going to be even great. If you're not, I promise you, you will find something to connect with and be in awe of. And of course, the cars. I didn't even talk about the cars yet with Ford. Being able to see all of those on display. And young and old, I promise you, you will have a great time. And if you come in the summer, when it's a little warm out, it is the best escape with that beautiful air conditioning. So it's definitely a must do.
I also love First Street in Fort Myers, and especially the themed restaurants, Ford's Garage, Capone's, Firestone, where conveyor belts are still running. I was there at several different times and always found it bustling.
Yeah, we have some great restaurants downtown. Ford's Garage is the original that has now expanded into, there's a couple different places within Southwest Florida, another one in Cape Coral and Estero, where you'll get that same experience. And this is going to sound weird, but you got to go to the bathroom when you go to Ford's Garage, because when you turn on the faucet, there's all kinds of trinkets and things that they used in the development of it that pays homage to the old car. So it's really, even your napkin does. So it's just a really cool spot to go eat and have lunch. But the rest of First Street, like you said, so many great restaurants. There's a new one that just opened up the other day. It's called Sip and Sizzle. So whatever your taste is, if it's seafood, at Izzy's is one of my favorite spots. Picture brick-lined streets and outdoor eating. There's something about a meal outdoors that I think just tastes better. So you get to do that year round here. And Ford's Garage is truly one of the best burgers you're ever going to have. But for my vegetarian friends or seafood lovers, there's plenty of options within feet of that restaurant, of a lot of different places to go eat there too, to take your break.
It is a great place. And also there's a free First Street bus that makes it easy to get around. What is its route? Where does it go?
Yeah, so this is a great option for people who maybe, you want to walk and get downtown, but then you're like, maybe I want to hop on this bus for a little relief. We have, I think, one of the most beautiful downtown areas. So it is very walkable. I do want to note that because people want that when they're out and about on vacation, right? Eat that big burger and go for a little walk, but hop on the bus, or the trolley, as we call it here, if you want. There are two different routes. The Gold Line, as we call it, actually goes into North Fort Myers too. So you can go over a beautiful bridge that takes you over the Caloosahatchee River and into North Fort Myers, and which is now, that bridge actually even just has a new pedestrian walkway. But take the trolley, it'll take you around that area and even come back into downtown to be able to see more things. It'll actually take you from the Edison and Ford Estates, the Sidney and Byrne Davis Art Center, which is in downtown on First Street there, in the Fort Myers area. Centennial Park is a beautiful park. Great for kids to get out some energy, and then again hop on that trolley. It's beautiful. It's got a little AC if it's a little warm for you, so plenty of place for relief. But and it takes you all throughout MLK is the other part of our downtown, which has the Rosa Parks train station, excuse me. So you can see some other historic areas, the beautiful Luminary Hotel, and again, I want to tell you and focus on that it is quaint. It is not a giant, overwhelming downtown, but you may want to get lost in there, and then you can hop on and hop off the trolley at any point.
Is it free?
It's only a couple dollars, a couple pennies actually, to be able to get on. It does change between seasons, but there are times when it is free. So that, and we have that listed on our website too to give you the exact dates for those visiting. But it is minimal cost to be able to go around. I think it's $1 for a short ride. And my son, who is 9 now, he is a big transportation guy. So we have done this over and over again. And again, for kids, it's not like your typical trolley. It's a really nice experience for everybody. So, and again, very affordable, only a couple dollars throughout the whole route.
And we should let people know that parking is not free throughout downtown Fort Myers. So you're better off taking the trolley anyway.
Yes,
and yes. Space besides that.
Exactly. And, I started that conversation with saying, if you want to park somewhere and get your walk in, that is true. The evening hours now after 5, it is free parking. That is brand new and just changed. So that's a good thing. But there's a lot of garage parking too. But you're absolutely right. It's like, this is another way to get around. It takes, less cars on the roadway is always better for many reasons, environmentally, pedestrian friendly, and just, again, not so much congestion on the road. And it's safe and proven to be, incredibly effective and quick. It's efficient. So, and we have a lot of different bus routes, even throughout outside of the downtown area. I mentioned my son, a lot of times in the summertime, we'll just take the bus from our house to the Edison Mall, which is a mall nearby, just to be able to get a different perspective and, get us there. So it's a great way to get around.
I have to mention the 2 Fort Myers baseball parks. JetBlue Park, where the Red Sox play, is called Fenway South because it looks like a miniature version of their Boston home. And Hammond Stadium, home of the Minnesota Twins, has a distinctive Victorian look. How about your take on it?
Oh, yeah. I think they're both amazing parks. And I know one team is going to want to like one more than the other. I will say they have different vibes, completely different looks. The Hammond Stadium has that beautiful, it's so picturesque. It takes such a gorgeous picture where you walk in, but it's very simple to get around. That's the other great thing, and great parking there too, I should add, because that can always be an issue. When you're new to a city and you want to be able to get in and out quickly. But yeah, just the look of it is so gorgeous and just gives off this, I don't know if colonial is the right architectural word for it, but it's beautiful. And then JetBlue Park, of course, home to the Red Sox for spring training, is like we have the mini monster, which is paying homage to Fenway, and our Boston fans love it. It's a kind of a miniature replica of what Fenway is like. We don't have all of the high seating like they do in Boston. That was the other stadium I went to last year. Dan, I was telling you all my baseball tour last year. I did hit that one up too. But it was really fun to go there and compare back here to Fort Myers. And that's interesting in the architecture because the top part of it was designed to replicate the cypress trees in the area. So a lot of places around here has some kind of a very intentional meaning, even down to the roof, so there's a lot of meaning behind that. And I should add back to our trolley talk real quick. The trolley is actually free. It's the bus system that is only about $1 for a long ride. So not to confuse our listener, but just hitting up that price point again.
Even better. My slogan is, if it's free, it's for me.
Yeah, exactly. That's always a great thing, right? And transportation is tough for people when you're in a new city. You're not sure how to get around. You don't want to waste a lot of time, worrying about that or wasting your money, if you've got a limited vacation time. So just wanted to clarify that as I was talking.
That's true. And you got to tell people about this.
Oh, yes. These beautiful banyan trees. I'd mentioned that there's a reason Edison liked our region to be able to discover things. This is right outside of the old county courthouse. That's how we refer to it here, right in the downtown area. You can see the brick-lined streets there. One of the biggest banyan trees in our area of Fort Myers, islands, beaches, and neighborhoods, which covers a huge canopy around that spot. Great place for photos. And is one of the natural wonders in our area. Our trees and the nature and the wildlife love it too. Wildlife likes to, it definitely fuels a lot of birds and things like that you can see. And then there's one down the street at the Edison and Ford Estates, which the canopy for that tree covers about 3/4 of an acre. And this one is pretty close. I think this one is a close second. So It's just gorgeous. And so when you're coming to visit, picture this mixed in with a historic downtown. It serves a purpose for the shade, but it's also just incredibly beautiful.
And you're right about the photogenic aspect. I had to wait an hour and a half to get the people out of the picture.
Yeah, I know. And, we're big on, over tourism. There is such a thing, when you go to places. I don't think this area is in that way at all. But it is one of the top places to get your photo when you come to downtown Fort Myers. And it's all that, it was planted there a very long time ago and has just grown into this beautiful species of a tree that, just kind of welcomes you into the downtown area.
And we're talking Fort Myers with Miriam Dotson. Let's talk history for a minute, Miriam. Is it fair to say Ford Edison and eventually athletics owner Connie Mack put Fort Myers on the map?
Yeah. And, I think going back to our baseball and spring training talk being, it's been 100 years that, think about that 100 years ago, people were in tune to Fort Myers for sports. That is a great way to get people to come visit, and why they wanted to do that here. If they want to play baseball here, well, then that means somebody, many other people want to come visit. So that also Terry Park area is an actual functioning park still, where they originally did a lot of the spring training. So that's another spot where you can just go visit on your own time. The other thing that kind of put Fort Myers on the map, in addition to thanking Connie Mack and all of the history and our figures here, is tarpon fishing, believe it or not. So tarpon is a big catch for fishermen. And that, 100 years ago, more than that, became something that also brought in a lot of tourism and a lot of people to come catch their big tarpon out in the Gulf. So that was another one. So between fishing and baseball, we're happy to say that we've kept all these traditions alive too.
Do most visitors come by plane, train, automobile, or boat? I noticed several marinas very close to town.
Yeah, we do have a lot of boating activity here. So however you get here, you can always find yourself on a boat by plenty of places, even for a day trip. I would say most people get here by air if they're flying in. I had mentioned earlier that during season, we have a lot of direct flights right now. Boston, New York, all of the New England and the Midwest areas, in addition to the West Coast, and new flights that get added seasonally. So once they get here, because you can get here probably within three hours max from most places. That's a quick trip for many. It's direct. And then once you're here, everything is right here for you. We make it about as easy as you can imagine being on a vacation. And you do feel like you are on vacation when you get over those bridges, as far as boating goes too, I used to love even jet skiing from island to island. So that's another fun way to kind of get around. We have some smaller islands. I used to go from Sanibel to Fort Myers Beach and just get on a jet ski from there to there and bop around, go to Picnic Island, other little islands. And that's a really great way to explore. Once you get here, you can boat all the way from Key West, as many different ways you want to do that. But I would say most do come by air. We do have a lot of in-state travel. So probably by car, earlier I mentioned Miami is just a quick 2.5-hour drive along I-75. And when I say quick, it is a direct line right across. So we do get a lot of visitors from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm to come to the West Coast. Even just the West Coast sunsets are just the best. There is a difference. And it's not so much hustle and bustle. So sometimes they just want an escape from, they've got beautiful beaches there too, but they just want to slow it down a bit. So they'll come over to the West Coast. Same with Tampa, St. Pete. That's another just quick 2-hour drive. So we do get a lot of visitors even from Atlanta for driving. And then after that, most people fly.
You mentioned Sanibel, so I have to ask, is the bubble room back?
Okay, yes. So the bubble room is expected to be back anytime now in just a few weeks. So you got to get your orange crunch cake. That is what they're famous for. It is amazing. If you're not a fan of orange flavored something, you will be after this slice of cake. And they're nice, generous portion. In the meantime, though, they did have Boops by the Bubble Room, which was an ice cream shop. Well, it still is, and it's there. That has been open now for years, just shortly after Hurricane Ian. They opened very soon after. The other great thing about the Bubble Room is that even though their standalone location on Sanibel and Captiva, I should say, maybe was closed, they still had their cakes in other restaurants or in other places throughout Fort Myers, islands, beaches, and neighborhoods, because it's that much of a favorite, even by locals, that you could get it somewhere else. So we were happy to promote that to keep these cake dreams happening because Orange Crunch cake is really what they're known for, but their chocolate cake, all of it is amazing. So stay tuned just a little bit longer. They are going to be opening up and it's going to be spectacular. So that's a favorite for sure.
Having just spent a week in Fort Myers, I know now why it's called the City of Palms. You want to explain that?
Yeah, so we do have a line of palm trees along McGregor Boulevard in particular, which those palm trees were gifted by Tootie McGregor, by the way. So, we talked about Thomas Edison and Ford being fast friends, and there was a great partnership between a lot of the residents who lived close within that area and giving a gift to line those streets with palm trees. And they are beautiful. So when you come down McGregor Boulevard, which is where Edison and Ford Estates is, you will see exactly why it is called the City of Palms. But there is even a basketball tournament called the City of Palms Classic. So we really do pay homage to that in our sports. I know we're talking baseball, but basketball is another tournaments. A lot of tournaments come here for that. So, and they named it right after that. So, and then throughout the downtown area, when we were talking about Ford's Garage and Izzy's and the other restaurants, they're just beautifully lined with those gorgeous palm trees and the royal palm. There's hundreds of different species of palm trees, which you get to know quickly, but they're all beautiful.
And we're talking Fort Myers with Miriam Dotson. Miriam, speaking of trees, tell us about the banyan trees. We talked about that a little bit already. There's one in front of the courthouse, another on the Edison Ford Estates.
Yeah. So that one was at one point even mentioned to be one of the largest in the United States, specifically the one on the Edison and Ford Estates, where the canopy hangs over about 3/4 of an acre. There's also a statue in front of the banyan tree there of Edison as a great spot to you could have lunch there. It really offers just such a beautiful, spectacular sight of nature, but it also really symbolizes the resilience of our community. I know we've been in the news quite a bit for hurricanes over the past few years, but even before that, they are known to be incredibly resilient. Obviously, if you look at those trunks, they're amazing, and they're hard to take down. So we the residents, especially over the past couple years, have really noted that as one of our symbols of resilience and how they are built to last and to be so strong, which represents a lot of the people in the area and the history there too. So in addition to that gorgeous banyan tree, there is a botanical garden there at the estates, which you'll find botanical gardens all throughout the area, where, it is just a way of life. And to learn about horticulture and the purpose, what it serves here, even down to our mangrove system, that goes into our waterways. It's all connected. So that is one of the most spectacular sites.
Fort Myers has dozens of parks and nature preserves. So please tell our viewers about the Wonder Gardens 6 Mile Cypress Sloth Preserve. And of course, the Shell Factory's gone, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, Shell Factory just closed. They would just auctioned off some items even within the past few weeks. Happy to say all of the animals that were there were rehoused, and we are so sad to see it go. It had so many memories there. I think the community is feeling it the most too. And I know a lot of visitors, my family, when they come down, we want to go to the Shell Factory. And I just had to break the news to them a few weeks ago too. So, but there are some other things in place that can suffice at least a little bit, like the Wonder Gardens. That's in Bonita Springs. That also serves as an animal refuge. You can find flamingos there, tortoise. Also every kind of wildlife as far as birds go, who just naturally hang around the area. And it's called the Wonder Gardens for a reason. It's like wondrous, the gardens that they have there. And all of the wildlife, alligators. You can have experiences where you can feed the alligators, actually under close supervision, of course. And the parakeets and all the different birds that welcome you in. Has a great gift shop, I should say, by the way. And that is right there on this gorgeous strip in Bonita Springs, which is really up and coming. I mean, it's really becoming a favorite spot. So I highly recommend check that out. Go get something to eat. And then it's right next to Riverside Park, which is right next to it. to get some more outdoor time. And then you mentioned the 6 Mile Cypress Slough. That is a word too that is really tough to get our head around because why is it a slough and what does that mean? So that is part of the waterway system within Fort Myers. It's actually very close to the airport, believe it or not. So it is kind of symbolic in the way that Fort Myers you can be at the airport and then within a few minutes you're in this also wondrous nature of a slough, which is the waterway that moves through the area that also filters things out. So there's an alligator there, plenty of nature, and a boardwalk that is just stunning. And we find, believe it or not, kids actually love this spot. So if you've got a kid who's stuck on their iPad, take that iPad away, go to the 6 Mile Cypress Slough and walk the boardwalk with them. You will have a totally different kid, I promise. It's really great. They do all kinds of events there too. And it's close to a brewery. So you can just, I like to kind of pair things together sometimes for our visitors who, maybe you've got a family full of people who want all different things, but the nature is amazing there. And you feel like you are a guest in their spot. It's not plotted out, it's what is there naturally. And we kind of have this philosophy that we live with nature and we not on nature, so you see it at places like that.
And since I love planetariums, I'd like to hear about the Colusa Nature Center and Planetarium.
Yes, that is another great spot. I know I've been saying the word nature a few times, but it's in a lot of the headlines because that's what we like to enjoy and respect. That is another great spot. They do all kinds of events. The planetarium there, they'll do like 3D laser shows. They'll have screenings of movies or films within the planetarium and have different events to be able to experience it. They do all kinds of nature walks for all different ages. It's kind of a great spot. Our locals like to do homeschooling there or have some segment there because it is so great for learning. And there's an indoor and an outdoor portion. So they even do moonwalks at night when there's a full moon and a guided hike, I should say too. So you can have it guided where things are pointed out and you learn about all kinds of different things. And they do that through the planetarium as well. So they do great things around the holidays too. They do spectacular light shows around Christmas. They do a haunted walk for fun around Halloween time. And just a really great place for the entire family.
And speaking of all things natural, is it true you haven't officially been to Fort Myers unless you tasted the fresh squeezed juice at Sun Harvest Citrus?
Yes. Okay. That is another must do. I am a huge fan. And if you didn't like the orange crunch cake, okay, then you got to go for the creamsicle ice cream. And they'll give you a little sample too. And you actually get to see the behind the scenes look of how they make the ice cream out of the oranges. And the citrus here is amazing. Everything is vibrant and fresh. And you get to sample all of the little different types of orange juice, grapefruit juice, things like that. There's a little playground outside, another great gift shop. I got to say, we've got these things hidden in. It's baked in. It's really good. So, and it's a Florida favorite. I mean, there's Florida and known for the oranges and the citrus. This is our spot where there's literally the orange outside. And anybody coming from anywhere, it's fresh. It's amazing. So I highly recommend it. They have the ice cream that is like a creamsicle soft serve. And it's fantastic. It's the little things, and we do it right.
And for great taste.
Or I should say they do it right. I don't make the ice cream. I just eat it.
Do you also recommend the key lime rum at the Wicked Dolphin Distillery, the fresh Blue Point oysters at Izzy's, and of course the handmade chocolate at Norman Love Confections?
Yes. So Norman Love has actually become quite a famous chocolatier throughout the United States and abroad, I should say around the world. And he is based right here in Fort Myers and has a few different shops. There are actually even some smaller ones throughout our shopping areas, but that is all homegrown, baby, for chocolate. And it is amazing. Years ago, it was even on Oprah's favorite things. So he has lived up to that name. We love to go and you can get a sampling. You could even do chocolate classes he offers for some fun things, him and his staff. And it's just amazing. And that's very close to the 6 Mile Cypress Slough Preserve. So, you kind of get your nature and your food and all very locally sourced and fresh ingredients. And then the first one that you mentioned there was the Wicked Dolphin. That is also, they have a brewery or a distillery, I should say, in Cape Coral. And that is another unique find that is, I would call, a hidden gem. And you can get a tour, a sampling, and you'll see it in a lot of different restaurants, but that is all local. So another great thing. And I mentioned Izzy's a few times for my favorite lunch spot, but yes, the oysters and really any kind of seafood is fresh caught. It's wonderful here on the Gulf Coast.
And taste and music certainly vary too from one person to the next. But Fort Myers has great choices, from the Calusa Sound Amphitheater to the Broadway Palm Dinner Theater and Fort Myers Theater. Plus, you have the Barbara B. Mann Performing Arts Hall and the Players Circle at Shell Factory. People would need to stay more than a week to see and hear it all.
Yeah, we are kind of known for having a large amount of arts and culture within a very small square distance of each other. So you mentioned all those great spots, but it does expand far beyond that. I do want to add in another spot there in Cape Coral. The Cultural Park Theater and the Bell Theater are also really great additions that are fairly new over the past few years within the region. And Cape Coral is just another beautiful bridge ride away from Fort Myers to the downtown Fort Myers area. So that's another great spot for a lot of waterfront wonderland is what they're known for. But as far as the theater goes and all those different things, Broadway Palm actually offers a dinner theater. So you get that whole experience where you're served, it's kind of a buffet. Food is great. Dessert is great. If you haven't caught on, I'm kind of a dessert gal. So my taste is high with that. And they check all the boxes. Really great shows. Amazing local talent. The Repertory Theater, which uses the Arcade Theater, the historic theater in downtown, they'll have talent that comes in regionally or just throughout the country that is top class, amazing talent. They'll also do like stand-up comedy shows or just one night gigs or improv. And another spot too, where they do a lot of theater is in Bonita Springs. The Arts Bonita is another spot that is really, I don't want to say up and coming, but when we talk about the arts and culture area, I mentioned the Wonder Gardens. It's not far from there where you can catch a lot of live theater, which is really fun. And the Players Circle Theater has now moved to McGregor Boulevard, which is right down the street, really, from the Edison and Ford Estates. So they used to be at the Shell Factory. As we mentioned, much of the stuff that was in Shell Factory, they did try to replace or put somewhere else. And that is one that was able to successfully be moved even before their closing. So they're doing very well. So top talent and great atmosphere for all of those.
In addition to Edison Ford, you also have Black and military museums, right?
Yeah, so the Lee County Black History Society maintains the Williams Academy Black History Museum. So that is right on MLK, right near Robert Clemente Park. Also, speaking of baseball, so not far from Terry Park that I've been talking about when you look on a map. It is a fantastic spot, very much volunteer-led. And updated with historic events within Fort Myers. And it is really a treasure trove for displays and artifacts commemorating the history and the culture of the Black community in Lee County. It was originally named after the first public school for Black students in the community. So they do put on other events, even within the park right next to it. So different ways to experience it. I highly recommend it. And the staff there is fantastic and so knowledgeable. And as far as the military museums too, there is the Southwest Florida Military Museum. That is now at the Edison Mall. So it's free for entry and you can check it out there. It also has a lot of artifacts, photos, displays, the clothing, the uniforms. And it is really to celebrate veterans in the community too. Cape Coral, as I've been mentioning, the city of Cape Coral is noted as a Purple Heart city. So that means it is formally recognized as Purple Heart recipients. So there are a lot of residents who pride themselves and we're very proud to be a part of that. So we like to share that. And I should also mention that Lee County was home to not one, but two U.S. Army Forces training bases during World War II. So there's Page Field and Buckingham Field that served as a training ground, and they are both operational still. So you can go to Page Field. It mostly serves, private planes and things like that, but there is a little spot there for a museum. So I highly recommend that. I call that also another hidden gem. And then the Buckingham Field is now home to the Lee County Mosquito Control's fleet of aircraft. So a lot of great history to unpack there and lots of different ways to experience it.
Are there sightseeing tours on land and sea?
Yes, all different kinds of things that you can get out there on the boat too. Just to name a couple of our outfitters, we've got Captiva Cruises, Go Get It Charters, Captain Brian on the Water, just to name a few of them, who are fantastic ways to get sightseeing tours on the water. You can also do a lot of private ways. Adventures in Paradise is another great one. They have, they're very interactive too. You can do like a shelling cruise. You can do a full day cruise, or even just a couple hours, or even a dolphin and sunset cruise. I mean, truly, however you want to experience the area, and I do highly recommend doing it through water. There's plenty of ways to do it. You don't have to be rich and have your own boat to come down. Their captains in the area are knowledgeable, safe, and the water is just beautiful. And I do highly recommend everybody to get out on the water at some point.
And speaking of wildlife, you mentioned dolphins. What other wildlife might people see in Fort Myers?
Yes, so dolphins and manatee are some of our favorite in the water. Manatee are really special. We actually have a park called Manatee Park. When it cools down for us a little bit here, when it's in like the 60s, a lot of them will gather together, and they're so sweet as a species. So you'll a lot of times see the baby with the mama, and you can see it up close. I mean, I see them on Captiva a lot, just huddled by a dock. We do have a lot of laws in place to protect them. So do keep that in mind. If you are a boater, you have to kind of heed the warnings and, follow the no wake signs and not go too fast as you take off. And that is mostly for the manatee. Alligators, of course, you'll see them in the wild and at Wonder Gardens and some of these other locations that have them out. 6 Mile Cypress Slough. The slough is unique in the way to see an alligator that it's not in like a cage thing. They're out in nature. So you will see them in their natural habitat. The birding season, the birds here are amazing. The roseate spoonbill is a rare find, but definitely present at places like Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge. They're beautiful. They're a pink bird with a spoonbill, is what a roseate spoonbill, with kind of a green front to them, and really a beautiful sight. Very cool to capture those. Photographers love to go there early and try to catch them nesting or rooting there on the shore. So, and again, all of the different, if you like lizards and all of the those kinds of critters, they are alive and well here, and we need them. So we do love to, iguanas. The burrowing owl is another unique find. As a matter of fact, many of the homes in especially the city of Cape Coral, if they're burrowing on their lawn, we then put out a white cross to kind of give them a place for them to land and have their little home. My neighbor yesterday had two little babies with their baby fur just on the front yard. So, and that's a unique find that is special to the area. So there's plenty of wildlife. And it's not like you have to pay to go to a place to see it. It's just here all the time in your daily activities.
And I'm sure there's just as big a diversity and accommodations as there is in animals.
Yes. So we're happy to say that we are now up closer to 83%, 82.6% of hotel rooms open. And that is since Hurricane Ian in 2022. As we know, we keep mentioning that, and many listeners may have known and be concerned about, was their favorite resort impacted? There was a lot of impact, but happy to say that we are just creeping up further and further, literally by the day for rooms available. There's 12,564 to be exact when we talk about the hotel rooms that are tracked. So that is a great sign. Also, we like to talk about people rentals are becoming more and more popular. Cape Coral has a lot of rental properties that are, right on a canal that even come with the boat. So you could do things like that. They do require a minimum stay number for most of them. It's like 6 or 7 nights. You'd have to check with those accommodations to just clarify. But downtown Fort Myers is fantastic for another spot. I also, if maybe you're just looking for, not so much the resort experience, the Hampton Inn in downtown, I really highly recommend that one. You're right down the street from the Edison and Ford Estates that we keep talking about, right on sidewalk, walkable into downtown Fort Myers, brand new property. And we see a lot of that stuff throughout our area they're new now. All of the stuff that's been coming back is brand new and clean and up to date. And so, Pink Shell Beach Resort and Marina on Fort Myers Beach, Margaritaville on Fort Myers Beach, Sundial just opened on Sanibel, and that's a resort and spa experience. So I could go on and on about all the differences and the amazing accommodations, but we do want to let all of your listeners know that we are back open and there are plenty of options and for different price points too.
Miriam, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to add?
No, I did see that picture pop up of you there posing for was that a baseball? Was that you posing with your baseball bat? That was really cool. Look at you. I love that.
That's at the Edison Ford Museum.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There it is, and you can get your photo there. And I just bring that up because you're clearly having a great time in that photo, and that is really the message I want to give to people who maybe you're considering a Florida vacation. You maybe have different reasons for travel. Please put us on the list. Fort Myers, islands, beaches, and neighborhoods. Our name means a lot to us because there are so many different islands. We've got unique beaches and very special neighborhoods that cultivate culture and history and a lot of hidden gems. So if you're looking for something that's not so packed and crowded too, and you enjoy spending time outdoors, we are a great year-round destination too, not just during the winter months when you maybe want to escape the cold, but please consider us for the summer months too, because we put on something called Island Hoppers Songwriter Fest in September. And that's another unique way to come visit, where literally 100 different songwriters come down and perform. And these are the songwriters for the top country and pop singers. And you get an intimate experience with them at these amazing locations, some of the great restaurants and bars and hotels throughout all of the area. And it is the cheapest time to come as well. So just another nudge there to, maybe find some time to come visit us at the end of September. That's another great kind of secret sauce time that I like to throw out there.
How do viewers learn more about Fort Myers?
So we have this great website. It's visitfortmyers.com. You can plan your trip there. You can even get sample itineraries. You can look at the calendar of events that are happening if you want to plan it around that. I know I just, threw out a ton of information for people, and it's really just scratching the surface. So we have a great sense of community here, and we are very happy to welcome in people and show it off. That's what you find. People are really happy to be here, and we want to keep it that way. So that was one of the spots. You can also find us on social media, and My Fort Myers. If you look up that hashtag on social, you can find some great photos and inspiration there too.
And it's Fort, F-O-R-T, not F-T.
Correct. And Myers, M-Y-E-R-S, not M-E-Y-E-R-S. So just in case you're searching.
Okay, our guest today has been Miriam Dotson of Fort Myers Islands, Beaches, and Neighborhoods. That's a mouthful. Thank you so much, Miriam, for visiting with us on Travel Witch Radio. You were great.
Thank you so much. So great to be with you, Dan. Hope to see you down here again soon.
Okay, definitely. And viewers, since baseball season starts today, this is the perfect time to share the excitement with my latest baseball biography, Home Run King, The Remarkable Record of Hank Aaron, featuring a foreword by Dusty Baker. This 265-page hardcover explores Aaron's contributions as a home run hitter, on the road, on and off the field, as an athlete, and as an advocate for civil rights. That's Home Run King, The Remarkable Record of Hank Aaron. Get it today on Amazon.com. That's it for this edition of Travel Witch Radio. This is your host and writer, Dan Schlossberg. Roger Noriega is off enjoying all the opening day action, saying thank you for your time this time. Until next time, join us next week when we'll talk to Kendra Scurfield about Banff Sunshine Village in Canada. Hope to see you then. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Stay safe and good evening.